This is news analysis coming to you live on Politics and Business TV Abuja. Good afternoon and many thanks for joining us on the program for today. I am Bernice Joanna Ray. The headlines. National Pension Commission unveils new dollar pension rules and tightens oversight on foreign contributions. Kano government refers blasphemy dispute to Shura Council amid calls for religious harmony. Inspector General of Police bans officers from land and other civil cases. And on the foreign scene, Russia says no choice but war after Trump U-turn on Ukraine. Details of the stories and more to come shortly after the break. Do stay with us. The National Pension Commission has rolled out new compliance guidelines for foreign currency pension contributions, mandating pension fund administrators and custodians to report any inflow exceeding $10,000 to the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit within 24 hours. And even smaller transactions deemed suspicious must be flagged immediately, in line with anti-money laundering laws. The move marks a major shift for Nigeria's 23 trillion naira pension industry, which has traditionally relied on naira-based savings. The reform opened the door for diaspora Nigerians who send over $20 billion annually to invest in retirement savings using hard currency. And while PFAs may hold limited naira assets, they are required to hedge currency risk using central bank approved instruments such as swaps and futures, ensuring stability and transparency in the evolving pension landscape. Meanwhile, the Kano State government has taken decisive steps to address growing tensions sparked by controversial remarks made by Sheikh Lawan Triumph during a recent sermon. A coalition of Islamic organizations, including Safia Islam of Nigeria, Tijaniya Youth Enlightenment Forum, are key to ensuring them to avoid involvement in land disputes and other civil matters. In a video shared on the force's official X account, the IGP emphasized that police personnel must not act as agents for private interest, especially in land recovery efforts. He stated that such actions compromise the integrity of the force and vowed that any officer found guilty would face disciplinary measures. Meanwhile, the IGP inaugurated a nationwide training program in Abuja focused on the newly launched criminal database system. He described the initiative as a transformative step towards data-driven, intelligence-led policing. Egbetekun said the system would eliminate poor record keeping and ensure every arrest and case is properly documented. He urged trainees to treat their roles as guardians of justice, noting that accurate data entry could be the key to ensuring criminals are held accountable. The new system will also connect Nigeria's police efforts to global crime databases, reinforcing international cooperation. Welcome back on Business Matters. Nigeria's oil sector is witnessing a revival after a 10-year investment drought, according to the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Senator Henneken Lokpobiri. Speaking at a U.S.-Nigeria Council session during the UN General Assembly in New York, Lokpobiri credited President Bola Tinubu's reforms for reigniting investor interest and unlocking billions of dollars in new commitments. He said the stagnation had left oil blocks idle and investor confidence shaken, but recent policy shifts have repositioned Nigeria as a prime destination for global energy partnerships. The minister highlighted the Petroleum Industry Act as a cornerstone of the transformation, describing it as a clear and investor-friendly framework. He assured international stakeholders of Nigeria's commitment to both fossil fuel development and clean energy goals, noting alignment with the Paris Agreement. And on the foreign scene, tensions escalated this week as President Donald Trump, who declared Ukraine capable of reclaiming its territory and labeled Russia as a paper tiger. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov responded by asserting that Russia's military campaign is essential for the country's long-term interest and future generations, adding that there is no viable alternative to continuing the offensive. He also rejected the notion that Ukraine could retake and held by Russian forces, calling such expectations unrealistic. Peskov further criticized Trump's earlier outreach to Moscow, including a recent summit with President Vladimir Putin in Alaska, describing the outcome as negligible. And for sports news, let's join Eva Sunday.
Good afternoon and welcome to P&B Sport News. I'm Abel Sunday. Manchester City advanced with a 2-0 win over Huddersfield. Phil Foden scored and later set up the second for Seville. Liverpool also advanced with a 2-1 win over Southampton, courtesy of an 85th minute strike by Hugo, but his celebration saw him sent off with second yellow card and he was openly criticized by Arne Slot. In a dominant display, Newcastle United thrashed Brentford City 4-1, while Joelinton and Will Osula both scored brace. That's all for sports. I'm Abel Sunday.
Welcome back and onto the focus of today. Returning our spotlights to Adamawa State, where outrage is brewing over a controversial leadership training trip to Istanbul, Turkey. 21 local government chairmen reportedly sponsored their wives for the overseas program, sparking a wave of criticism across social media and civil society. With pensioners unpaid and infrastructure lagging, many are asking, is this a case of misplaced priorities? And to help us unpack this developing story, we'll be speaking with Alhaji Yakubu Aliyu, coordinator of the 17 Southern States Rebuild Arewa Initiative for Development and also national coordinator of Nigerian Ethics Forum. He'll be joining us shortly via WhatsApp call after the break. Do stay with us. And welcome back. Joining us to speak about the public anger as local government chairmen send their wives abroad on taxpayers' bill is Alhaji Yakubu Aliu, coordinator of the 17 Southern States Rebuild Iowa Initiative for Development and also national coordinator of Nigerian Ethics Forum. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, sir.
You're welcome.
So, do you think is it justifiable for public officials to sponsor their spouses on foreign leadership trips using public funds, especially in economically challenged states like Adamawa?
Well, it sounds very, very funny and unfortunate. Not even Adamawa State, even the oil-rich state, as far as the Constitution of the Republic of Nigeria is concerned, there is no provision in any way that permits any government official, and I quote, not even the chairman of the council, but any political appointee or elected that gives room for using public funds to sponsor their spouse to abroad for any training whatsoever. Not absolutely. It's ridiculous. It's uncalled for. Coupled with the economy meltdown, particularly in a state like Adamawa, where people are crying for pension, salary, and what have you. It's really unfortunate.
So you mentioned that there is no room for leaders to use public funds for personal use. Well, what mechanisms currently exist to hold local government officials accountable for discretionary spending, and are they effective enough to prevent the misuse?
Well, you see, the problem is that you cannot prevent that because the system, if you look at the situation in Nigeria now, yes, of course, it's our fatherland. We have no other country than Nigeria. But the situation is every day deteriorating when it comes to, obeying rules and order. So, and a country where rules and order is not being adhered to, a government official can do whatever and get away. Nobody is questioning him. Nobody is checkmating him. It is actually unfortunate, and honestly, it calls for a very urgent intervention by people of mindset, the stakeholders, the opinion leaders who need to sit up and get rid of this. That is the bitter truth.
So you mentioned that the country is a nation
Yes.
where rules and orders are not being adhered to. So how does this
Yes.
incident reflect the broader issues of governance culture in Nigeria, particularly regarding transparency and prioritization of public welfare?
The problem is that if you look at it, there are institutions that are actually, constituted to checkmate all this. But the fact is that are they really doing their, are they discharging their constitutional mandate? We have EFCC, we have ICPC. These are the constituted authority that need to checkmate all this. And of course, there is a kind of weakness in terms of the performing, in terms of the proactiveness of the EFCC and that of ICPC, because if those institutions are working proactively, I think the excess of these executive officers who are in charge of the public funds, I can assure you, they will be brought a very, various minimum.
You
But
meant
unfortunately, the system is not, giving room to that.
Yes, sir. Speaking about the system, you mentioned institutions like ICPC and EFT. Should there be a national policy regulating foreign travel for public officials and their affiliates, and what should such policy include?
There's there's virtually every day a declaration from the president to other governors that's restraining officials from traveling, even for medication. But are they actually, obeying such instruction? That is the question. Of course, the answer is no.
So what they are not obeying the instructions. Should there what should the the policy include that will make them obey such instructions?
Well, like in the case of a local government chairman, yes, as a governor, you have no constitutional mandate to sack the chairman of the council. But I think there is also a constituted authority that are there to checkmate and has the constitutional mandate in checkmating the affairs of the local government, such as the state assembly and that of the councillors. They all have the constitutional mandate to checkmate them. But the question still is that the state assembly, independent of itself, are they also loyal to the corridor? I mean, to the power, to the corridor of power. That is, a lot of things is going on that one cannot really preempt and one cannot really tell what exactly going on, because the state assembly has the constitutional duty to checkmate the local government chairman in terms of their spending and whatever and what have you. But you hardly had any issue relating to the chairman or the chairman of the councils and that of local government and that of legislature in the state, because they are presumed to be, let me just call it, I don't know, let me be minimized, because I am in a television and of course I have to be careful and mindful of my word. But honestly, it is very unfortunate and sad.
Well, in light of unpaid pensions and salaries, what does this trip say about the disconnect between leadership decisions and the lived realities of ordinary citizens?
Well, you can see that is my foundation from the beginning. All, if you go round, left, behind, opposite, is still about the system. You work for 35 years as a civil servant. You manage your life. Some of these servants, some of these retirees were like 70 years of age. Some were 80, some were 65, some were, 68. Thereabout. Some of them cannot even go out of their room because they are of age. But unfortunately, the little turkey, which is about 40,000 naira, a state governor will find it difficult to release and be paying them on a monthly basis. It is a very sad and a very sympathetic situation. And of course, if you are able to discharge such responsibility by making sure that the pension is being paid when it is due, it is the pain of some of these retirees. Because up to this moment, despite the fact that we are into, how do I want to put it, the depression, the depression of a currency, the inflation and whatever, yet there are people that if you give them 60,000 naira in a month, they will, at least it will touch their money is becoming a problem to the state governors. So it's all about the system, all about the system. If you go left, you go right, still remains. The system is actually need to be, reshuffle the power of the governor, and what have you need to, somebody, in fact, there should be a kind of these pensioners and these retirees, some of them were your uncles, some of them were your brothers, and so on and so forth. So there should be that sympathy in making sure that what is their own, what is belong to them, should be given to them when it is due.
Well, before we let you go, sir, do you think our leaders are investing in our progress or prestige?
I cannot, if you say leaders, there are still good leaders, which one cannot single out one or two, but you cannot generalize the whole leaders as people that prioritize prestige than progress.
Yes, sir.
Prestige than progress.
Sorry, sir, we didn't get you. Can you go over that again?
I said I cannot generalize all the leaders as being those that prioritize prestige than progress. There are those that prioritize the progress than prestige, but I think large number of the leaders prioritize prestige than progress, because if our leaders all prioritize progress, the country wouldn't have been what it is today. will have make a progress more than what we are today.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Sam. That has been our focus for today. And our guest was Alhada of Nigerian Ethics Forum, who joined us via WhatsApp call. Thank you for staying with us, sir.
Thank you very
Do
much.
enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir. Well, and that wraps up today's program. But before we go, the headlines again. National Pension Commission unveils new dollar pension rules and tightens oversight on foreign contributions. Kano government refers blasphemy dispute to Shura Council amid calls for religious harmony. The Inspector General of Police bans officers from land and other civil cases. And on the foreign scene, Russia says no choice but war after Trump U-turn on Ukraine. And for more updates and in-depth analysis, follow Politics and Business TV English on YouTube and Facebook. And connect with us on Instagram at PNB English and TikTok at PNB.TV.English. And remember to subscribe and stay informed. From me, Ulus Joanna Ray, it's bye for now.